going to show up to workshops. So thank you all for being here. We'll go ahead and get started. So welcome. Hopefully you're here to learn about the PPIA program, Public Policy and International Affairs. So my name is Jen Bess. I'm Director of National Fellowships over in National Fellowships and Scholar Programs. We're in Justice Store on the Horseshoe, 3rd floor. I'm joined by my colleague Kendall. I'm joined by Taylor. We're joined by Michael, who is our fellowship peer mentor for PPIA. And so I'm going to kind of walk us through sort of big picture overview of what this program is, what it offers, what the application looks like. But really, Michael's the expert because Michael did it last summer. So we're going to kick it back to you several times to be like, this is what I say. What was it actually? Or how's that working out for you? So without further ado, or with a little further ado, apparently, we'll keep moving. Intros, just did that. This is, overview, eligibility, application requirements, essays, next steps, Q&A. Just so you know what to expect, but I already just said this. We'll keep going. Intros, also already just did them. There we go. Moving on. PPIA. So Public Policy and International Affairs. We're talking about their Junior Summer Institute, the JSI. So this is a 7-week summer program for people who want a career in public service, public affairs, international affairs, and they're trying to increase the diversity within the professionals within public service. It is an academic program, so you're taking classes, you're potentially getting credit for those, and it's to help you develop the skills to get into and be successful at graduate school in programs towards these careers in public service. Okay, so and they're looking at providing you direction and insight into master's degrees in public policy, public administration, international affairs, or related fields. And so if you participate in the program, it's a fully funded program, but then you also can benefit from financial funding from schools that are part of the consortium. So when you're ready then to go to grad school, as a PPIA alum, you're eligible for even more funding, which is actually one of the big perks, right? Pretty good perk, I think. Okay. One point of clarification, someone always asks about law school for this, and they don't fund law school. They're funding master's degrees. The Berkeley program has a joint law master's program that could work, but that's the only one. Just, anyway, I'll take that survey. I'm gonna pause. Who are all of you? Let's ask that question. Can we do a quick intro so I know who I'm talking to? Because that'll help in terms of direction. I'm gonna start with you.
I'm Rachel Erickson. I'm in my 2nd year, but I'm graduating early. So I'm
Okay.
And I'm actually planning on doing the accelerated master's of public administration here. Since my scholarship covers 4 years. But it was really cool.
Excellent. Go for it.
I'm Sam Maloney. I'm a freshman. Way too much time this semester, except for the one meeting I actually really do need to go to.
Soak it all in so that you're ready.
My name is Natalia Chen. I'm a poly-science major in Virginia. I'm interested in the master's.
Awesome.
Hey guys, my name is Blake. I'm a junior, double major in geography and poli-sci. So I'm really interested in the public admin or somewhat representing transportation fields. So, public work is what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. All right, you guys are a good target audience. Thank you for that. So the program benefits full tuition at the Junior Summer Institute, assistance for travel expenses, stipend, university housing if you go in person, books and course materials. So then we get into the grad school component. So it's a minimum $5,000 scholarship if you go to one of the consortium schools, but you also often will get offers beyond that depending on which school and program you're looking at. $5,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but there are some that even might potentially be fully funded. So there's a big range in terms of what that can turn into.
So when you're thinking about funding, the big question is, what are you going for a PhD?
Yeah, so this is not going to do that. This is going to look at masters. Yep. There'll also be potentially a fee waiver when you're applying to schools, if you're applying to grad schools in the consortium. So saves you money, gives you experiences. Michael, I might ask you, since last year you were virtual, correct? What did this look like for you virtually in terms of the benefits, like financial kind of ish?
Benefits.
What did
So we
you get?
obviously did not get, you understand that?
Sure, come on up. Or
Um,
stand, it's this.
We obviously didn't get the housing kind of stuff, but because we were online, they actually doubled our stipend. We got a little more money just for ourselves, just because a lot of people had like extenuating circumstances where they were getting their classes from as well.
Mhm.
And we got like a free t-shirt, we got GRE prep materials, so textbooks and like free access to a course to do like GRE practice tests. Then as far as the grad school stuff, we actually had a virtual grad school fair where we got to like hop into rooms and talk individually with representatives from different grad schools, and ask them questions like specific to what we're interested in. So some of them told us straight up, like Carnegie Mellon is one that we asked about the benefits and they said, no questions asked, like any PPIA fellow who gets in gets a full ride. That was bold of them to say. Some of the other ones kind of like implied. Like they won't tell you straight up you get a full ride, but like a lot of people who get it will get fully funded. Consortium also has like every school.
Yeah, there's a
you
lot
want,
more.
like, it's,
Yeah, yes.
it's not like random 50 schools, it's like the top 50 schools, like all the
Yeah.
biggest ones, all the ones you've heard of. I haven't gotten any of this yet because I'm still in on that, but someday.
It's dangling in front of you, right? Like, do you have to go to grad school right away or can you wait?
No, it's pretty much forever. We actually, at the fair, a lot of the representatives told us to take gap years, like a lot of the alumni as well. Of the PPIA would like come back and talk to us and say, definitely go get some work experience. Like, that's why I'm not planning to go to grad school just yet.
Gotcha. It kind of makes sense, yeah, like in the public service realm, to go out and get some experience and make sure you know what you want to do before choosing a grad program so that you are certain of that fit.
And I heard you say public administration is
Yeah.
usually funded FPs and MPAs, which is anything that's under the public policy like school, whatever school they're at.
So the summer institutes are at these 5 schools, but as Michael pointed out, like the consortium itself is much larger, but this is where the summer programs are. So you have Princeton, you have Michigan, you've got Minnesota, that's what this thing is. Carnegie Mellon and Berkeley. They each have a specific-ish focus. I'm not as well versed in what all their different focuses are. I know Carnegie Mellon has kind of a data, so they got this information system, public policy management. There's kind of like a data science track that they're looking at. And then Berkeley is the only one that has a little bit of kind of a law-ish theme, but it's still in the realm of public policy. Michael will know more. You did Michigan, right?
I did Michigan, which
Yeah.
didn't really have a focus.
Yeah. All the things in Michigan.
Yeah, Minnesota, and that's kind of why I picked it, 'cause I didn't have a real focus in the other ones. Like Princeton, like my advisor told me that like that was very econ focused, so they want you to have some background going into that. And Minnesota, we had 2 people went to Minnesota one, that was more social justice, like social kind of issues. Before it was Michigan was kind of like all of it.
You can choose. Excellent. Any in particular of those sound interesting to you? If you just say that, just throw really general info. I mean, or did you already have any idea of what you were looking at?
I should say I appreciate you telling me the end of Michigan, because I'm not a sports guy. And I was like,
Minnesota.
what is that?
That's Minnesota.
I was like, is that like a triangle or something?
Yeah, it's like an upside down W because it's a really wide
The
end.
longer I stare at it, it's like a little.
Maybe it's calling to you.
Yeah, it's like an error going right to it.
Yeah, that's the one for you. Quick review of eligibility for you. So you need to be a U.S. citizen, legal permanent resident, or a DACA recipient. You are actually as an international student eligible as long as you're enrolled in a U.S.-based institution. So it's nice and open in terms of that eligibility. For this particular cycle, so not for you, Sam, but the rest of you, if you're planning to graduate between December 2022 and August 2023, you're eligible for this round. Plan ahead for the future. It is focused on the master's degree in public policy or international affairs at one of the consortium schools. As Michael said, it is like the top 50 schools you'd be looking at anyway, so it's not a restriction, let's just say. Being able to show on your application that you are committed to and have an interest in this kind of professional career in public service. So not just saying it, but having some evidence that we can see to say, okay, that lines up. I'm interested in contributing to the diversity of perspectives present in that program. So I have this bullet point was in the PowerPoint from last year that you have to specifically demonstrate involvement in working to improve historically underserved or underrepresented communities. So thinking about how that looks in your experience. Michael, might I ask how you addressed that in your application?
Yeah, so a lot of the people in the PPIA are members of these underserved communities, but not everybody necessarily is. There were a couple of us in the program who weren't. And my essays were mostly about my work with Engineers Without Borders. So in college, because I speak Spanish, I've been to Ecuador and I've helped us like translate as we do our like water resource projects in this little village. So I talked a bunch about that in my essays. And I think because I'm also an engineering major, so I think because I was talking about engineering stuff as well as my work in Ecuador, I was really trying to like differentiate myself from a lot of the other applicants.
Yeah, so that's helpful because I think that's one of the things is there's lots of different ways to consider how you approach this and how you talk about it, what you want to do and why you want to do it. So being able to express that is what they're looking for. And then there is a piece of economic need that is considered during the application. So that you're going to see in the application materials you submit, they ask for some financial need information. You can talk about that a little bit more. It's pretty straightforward eligibility, to be honest. It's pretty open. Who should apply? It's kind of repetitive. People who fulfill the eligibility requirement. But primarily that you have an interest in this career in public policy, that it's demonstrated, that we can see it, that you have the skill set already to show the potential for continuing to contribute in that, that you have a commitment to serving underrepresented groups, that you want to go to one of the grad schools in the consortium, that you have a desire to further your skills. So one thing about this, and I thank you for bringing up the Princeton program, right? Of like, they want people who have a background in econ. So while there are some preferences in the program, the institutes themselves are meant to give you skills that you may not already have. That's the point, right? You don't have to already have these backgrounds to be eligible and competitive for the program. The program exists to give you those so that you can compete for the spots in these grad programs further on, right? So that's why I think, right, so the engineering background is interesting because that's not a typical pathway into policy. So I'm going to guess you didn't really have a big background in econ, policy writing, things like that, right? And so that was what you talked about.
Yeah, I focused on like the things that one of the essay questions is like, why do you want to do this? Why did school you chose for like the one you're applying to? So I was pretty honest about not knowing a lot about those things, but talking about how I wanted to like learn about it and use that.
Yeah. So think about what is it that you are not getting here at USC, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but what are you not getting here? Why is that, in the sense that how can this fill that in, right? And how can you explain why you're not just doing it here, but why this kind of summer program would be really useful based on the school that you're at, there, like the school you'd be attending there, the group that you'd be with, the actual types of classes that maybe you can't fit into your schedule here because of what you're doing, whether that's major or extracurriculars, things like that. So the talking about the fit and then the need for this and how it will help you advance. Does that make sense? You all are in kind of fields that seem more relevant than mine. Just gonna go out on a limb. So, but you may want to talk, I mean, really dig into each program description, and we can look at the website too once I finish these slides. We can kind of go through and see how they talk about themselves and what they're offering to help figure out what might be the best fit, because you do have to rank the programs. So we'll get to that. Talk to all those. Ability to manage an academically rigorous course load, like you are taking classes, that is what you're doing. I know that you were virtual, not in person, but what kept you busy over the summer with PPIA?
Well, we had, for the whole summer, we had writing class, statistics class, and macroeconomics class. And then along with that, we had 2-week modules in like counterterrorism. We had one on irrational actors, like psychologically and economy or whatever. And then we had a ton of like policy simulations. We did like a ton of alumni panels like every other day. Yeah, alum was coming back to like talk to us about their jobs. We had like government agencies come and talk to us and try to like recruit us. And then there was a lot of just like assignments, like a lot of writing and stuff. We even online we hopped on a lot of Zoom calls together and like studied the things. I will say Michigan didn't have midterms or anything, but apparently the Princeton program did. Some of the other ones did, so we do like cross school activities where some of the Princeton kids come and grow and study for things. Michigan did not. It's more fun.
Feeling like Michigan might be a better, no.
Princeton got more money, I will say.
Jersey, as we used to say. Thank you. Michael, I appreciate you being here because I think it's really helpful to hear about recent experiences to kind of really flesh out what this looks like. So since this is due November 1st, I think there's a slide with that, but just so you know, these are the application pieces. So there's some background information, 2 letters of recommendation, essays, which we'll talk about in a minute, a resume, your transcript, and then the financial documents. I have this giant printout of like all the things because the website went down. I have my information. So let's go through these. So focus on the essays because this is what you have to write, right? Which is always usually what people are most concerned with. And what we can help with the most, let's be honest, is we can help with the writing. So there's a personal statement, a statement of purpose, a diversity statement or public service history. If you want to do the Law Fellows or the Data Fellows programs at either Berkeley or Carnegie Mellon, there's an extra essay that you write and the optional extenuating circumstances essay. So it really is about authenticity, right? And making sure that it shouldn't be excruciatingly hard to write these essays. It might be hard to sort of get them to exactly where you want them, but you should find it relatively straightforward to figure out what you want to say-ish, and then got to figure out how to say it and how to put it together. If you're really struggling with these, think about fit and is this a good program for you? That's a pro tip for really any national fellowship, right? Is like, if you can stare at the prompts and brainstorm things, that's a good sign. If you stare at the prompts and you're like, I got nothing, then let's talk more and figure out if that's actually the right. So, let me see. I'm trying to think of what all of these pieces are. Here, let me review the prompts. I don't have them on the slide. I apologize. So essay 1 is 800 to 1,000 words. This one says 1,200. Anyway, double spaced, 12-point font that addresses the following questions regarding your background and goals. What are your public service career goals? How has your background influenced those goals? You can include family, community, education, obstacles that you've overcome, other relevant life and work experiences. And then what experiences will you bring to this program that will enable your fellow participants to have a fuller understanding of your commitment to public service, cross-cultural and social issues? This is a pretty typical personal statement kind of prompt, right? So it's like, what do you want to do? How have you gotten to this point where that's what you want to do? And then this is not just a program where you're taking stuff from it, it's a program that you're giving back to. So what are you bringing to share? That's a basic prompt. That's reasonable. Essay 2, 500 to 700 words. The questions regarding your motivation for applying to PPIA and your interest in pursuing a master's degree. So how will participating in this program help you achieve your career goals? What specific skills do you want to gain during the program? And then given your interest in PPIA, why do you want to pursue a master's degree related to public policy or national affairs? Very goal-oriented. Statement of purpose, right? Why this program? How's it going to help? Why that degree? Sorry, I hate reading things and not having them on the slides for you to see. I apologize. Essay 3 is basically your experience working with diverse communities. That's the prompt. So then, are any of you interested in the Berkeley Law program? Or go ahead.
For the diversity thing,
Yep.
does that have to be like in some college or can also like before?
Life. Yeah. I think if you have 0 in college, they might pause, but I think it is what is your experience working with these communities? And I would think about that too in connection with what you want to do in the future as well. So like, what have you done and how are you showing that that's a continued area of interest? Yeah. But no, you do not have to limit yourself to what you've done on campus in the last 2.5 COVID years, especially. So, anybody interested in the Berkeley Law or the Carnegie Mellon data analytics track? Berkeley Law. Okay. So for Berkeley, you got to write an extra 1-page essay. Why? So and for that, they're talking about a joint degree in law and public policy. So they want to know why you want to do that degree and what skills you want to acquire and how will you apply those skills to further your public service career goals. My guess with a question like that and looking at the program as a whole is it's almost like you need to justify the JD, right?
Yeah.
So it's why do you need the law degree to do the kind of public service work that you're interested in? And so talk about what the skill set. So I think they're probably looking at it as PPIA would help give you the skill set to broaden you to be able to do the public policy if you're already kind of on a law track, right? So their focus is not the law piece, their focus is the public policy, but they want to see how you think about that intersection. Yeah. Anybody else? Law? Carnegie Mellon policy and data analytics track. It's the same question. Describe your interest for wanting to pursue a policy and data analytics degree and how you'd apply the skills that you learned. So tell your friends about that one though, because that is, I mean, Carnegie Mellon is explicit about like, yes, if you do PPIA for us and then want to come to grad school, we will pay for everything. Makes me want to do data analytics at Carnegie Mellon, not gonna lie. Sign me up. The extenuating circumstances statement is optional. Did you answer that question? I'm not necessarily have to ask you what you said, but did you?
I don't mind. It's totally don't have to do that one if there's nothing to talk about. I was studying abroad in Spain when COVID happened. I sent home early, elected to drop all the classes I was taking and try it again. So I use that to explain why I have a semester without any credit.
That seems like a good use of that space, yeah. So usually we say, optional things were like, take the option, but it's extenuating circumstances. So like, don't feel like you have to, right? But it is, the space is there for you. If you
Like
do
it
it.
turned into transcripts, so like.
Right,
they probably-
right. They might have questions, right? So think about it that way. If you're putting together an application and there's something that there's obviously going to be a question about, that's a good place to use to address that. Those are your essays. We're happy to work with you on those, read drafts of those, meet with you, go over them. We should have Michael and Madison and Carly's, our 3 previous PPI applicants. We have their applications on file that are available for you to look at, anonymized. Although with only 3, you can kind of figure out who's, but that's okay. Don't try to do that. We also suggest that you don't start with those, right? Like always start by writing your own application stuff and then use them if you kind of get stuck or you're trying to figure out how you might want to talk about something. There is not one way that these are supposed to look or read. And so we don't want you to think that this is what you have to do. They're very individualized. So your next steps, start working on the essays. You have 6 weeks-ish. That's about how we time these workshops. So that's a good amount of time to get this together. One thing that you want to do sooner rather than later probably is ask for letters of recommendation because you want to give your recommenders as much time as possible to put those together. So I encourage you to start thinking about that. We're also happy to strategize with you about who would it make sense to ask for. Think about it as this is an academic program. You're taking classes. It's pitched towards grad school. So you probably really want faculty who have taught you in classes that are at least somewhat relevant to what you would be doing and or what you want to be doing post-graduation. Who did you have write your letters? Ish, I mean, just in general.
I had 3
Oh,
recommenders for fellowship in general. I don't know what for this. Like they had our professional mentor for engineers without borders. He had to write about the collaborators.
Mhm.
And then I think I just had my research mentor for engineering.
Yeah.
Right, like a little thing.
So now I'm checking my notes. Let me backtrack. One letter has to be from faculty who's familiar with your educational accomplishments, but the second one should be from someone who knows about your public service activities and interests. So that makes sense that that's why. And then, yeah. So think about that, which makes sense because that's what this is. They're trying to give you academic skills to then go do public service, so they want to hear about both of those things.
I know the website says that we can ask like our academic advisors.
Mhm.
Would you suggest that, or would you suggest?
It kind of depends for which letter, and it just that kind of depends. on how well they know you. So if they know you because they're your advisor and you've met with them a few times, that's probably not sufficient. Probably wants to be someone that knows you, that you've met with more times and talked with about more things. And are you thinking about it in terms of the academic letter or the public service letter? For the academic, because my gut would be because you're going to be taking classes, I would lean towards having a faculty member, but it does say someone familiar with your educational accomplishments. So there's no right answer to that question.
I
But
just feel like it's been hard to like, since the
Yeah.
program with like everything online, you didn't really get to know your faculty very well.
Yeah.
And then like the new semester, but.
Yeah. So that's why I
then,
think,
like, it's kind of hard to
yeah.
get to know a professor well.
Have you talked with your advisor about what you were interested in and where you like that you're thinking about grad school and the kind of work that you want to do in that regard? Have you had that kind of conversation with them? Yeah, then that would be, as long as you've had that kind of conversation, then that helps. Yes.
So for these recommendation letters, are they looking for something that's really specific towards PPIA? I'm trying to think, actually, like, too many images, like, two birds with one stone. Or is that not possible?
I applied to both of those. And so two of my Truman recommenders were my PPIA recommenders. They were slightly different because on this, like, I forget what Truman says, but at least the
Yeah.
PPIA kind of has prompts for your recommenders. Like your faculty one might have
Truman
different,
does, yeah.
a different thing that's supposed to write than your public service one. But it's kind of the same. They're both writing about like your public policy sort of interest. So
Yeah.
give them a note that says, this is what this is looking
Yeah.
for. My recommenders were pretty good about that. Like, they actually asked me, they were like, was there anything you want me to highlight for this program that like.
Yeah, so what I would say is it's completely fine to have the same people write for you. You don't necessarily want the exact same letter for each. And the pro tip or good news is that once you ask the faculty member to write your letter of recommendation, like the first ask is the hard one. And if they agree to write for you, the rest of the letters you're going to ask them for are going to be much easier for them to write. They're going to spend a lot of time crafting that first letter. And then once they have it, then you just share the information about the different programs you're applying to, and they can just kind of shape it a little bit differently, but they're not going back to scratch every time to write that letter. So don't feel bad asking a faculty member for more than one letter. Particularly in this case, between Truman and PPIA, there's going to be a lot of overlap, but a little bit of difference. But that's fine. You just want to clearly communicate with them what you're asking them for each time. And yes, giving them some ideas of like, this scholarship's really emphasizing these. So could you mention like, you know, this paper that I wrote with you or whatever? You can give them that kind of support, but it is fine. I'm kind of expected. So feel okay about that. So coming to this meeting, we're going to make sure you have access, and probably all of you actually already do have access to our Blackboard website. I don't know that we have a PPI specific folder. If we do, you'll have access to that. And if we don't, we will make sure the PPI essays are in the essay notebook that's on Blackboard. That's where you'll find the previous applications. But we also have them in hard copy in our office. So you're welcome to post them that way. Make an appointment to come talk to one of us, anybody in the office. We're happy to chat. You can take Michael. Madison wasn't able to be here, but Michael and Madison, you can take them to coffee if you want to talk about their experiences with PPIA this past summer. This year, the deadline is November 1st. I think last year it was actually a little bit later. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, we do pay for the coffee. Yeah. Right. We cover the cost of coffee. And so you can just email Michael directly. He's on the website, on the Peer Mentor page. You can just click on his face and be like, I want coffee with Michael. And then he'll come get the card and arrange everything with you. It'll be great. So the application deadline is November 1st, notifications go out in February, and then they are in June or July, kind of depending on the program. I've not seen anything as to whether they're in person or virtual yet. I doubt they've decided that. I think they're probably still. So obviously there are pros and cons either way. So it'd be great to be in person. It'd also be great to get double stipend. So take your pick. So those are next steps, questions. Quick start guide on our website is what that takes you to, but you all have been to things and you know us, so I'm less worried about that. So I'll pop back to next steps or questions. That's all I have. Now, Michael, what would you like to share that you haven't already shared? And I'm going to pull up the website and we can all take a quick look at that too.
So one thing is the writing class that we took in the program was super, super helpful. I think the one who teaches it is one of the people who is on maybe for like this kind of stuff. So she had office hours where you could come get any piece of writing looked over, like resumes or cover letters, speeches or whatever. And some like the big part of our writing classes is actually looking at sample personal statements and academic statements purpose and like having us write on them and like correct them, because that's something that we're gonna have to be writing for grad school. So I learned a lot about like how to write those kind of things. And the big thing is just like making yourself really, really different from like focusing on what makes you as unique as possible. Because there's gonna be a million essays that are just saying like I want more of an economic background, so it's all the economic issues and that's not very specific. So you just want to focus in on like your whatever your story is. Your mind, I minor in nuclear engineering, I minor in mechanical engineering, so I talk about like this and energy, and I wanted this physical and economic stuff so that I can like figure out how to make clean energy more affordable and more worth the investment and all that kind of stuff. And so that was like very different from a lot of people in the program who were focused on immigration policy or like gentrification, like urban development kind of thing. So like focusing on what you want to do, being very specific about it, and explaining like why it makes sense that you're doing that is kind of the biggest thing.
I know we said, I mean, we use the word authenticity and it's like, yes, that's an easy word to say and a hard thing to sell sometimes, but it is the key, right? These are programs that are trying to support you and they want to know who are you, what's important to you. Are the things that you care about in line with what we care about? Yes, great, then you're a good fit and you should be in this program. So it's how to communicate that on paper or electronically, which I'm really glad that they actually give you. I mean, I don't want people to like have examples and be like, this is what it has to look like, but I do think that getting more eyes on different statements and sort of seeing the range of things and talking through how do you write and how do you present yourself is such a useful skill that I'm really glad that was part of what they did for you in the moment. And it's something that we try to do for you in our office, maybe not to the scale of that, but to be able to help you think about who are you writing to and what do you need to explain versus what's going to be pretty clear, and how do you make yourself understandable and really highlight the things about you. So yeah, so this is the PPIA website. It was down earlier today, but it seems to be back, which is good news. How many of you guys visited this page before? Good, that's excellent. Then, did you have any questions about navigating it? Do we need to go over any of it? They have a pretty thorough website. They do, their FAQs are good. They're pretty clear as to what they're asking for. So basically we wanted to make sure that you knew this existed, that we exist, what we can help with. I think Michael was the star of this particular presentation, sharing his experiences. And so we are here for you in the next 6 weeks to help you get this organized and submitted, and keep our fingers crossed that you can do it in the summer. And that's all I have to say about that. Other questions? You don't have to clap. Thank you. I appreciate